You see the weaknesses of the people around you every day. The boss who desperately needs validation. The colleague who lives in fear of being exposed as incompetent. The friend who will do anything to avoid confrontation. The partner who melts with a few words of approval. And you simply ignore this precious information. Meanwhile, other people around you are using these same weaknesses to get promotions, close deals, win favors, and build empires of influence. They see vulnerability and think, opportunity. You see vulnerability and think, poor thing. And then you wonder why other people seem to navigate through life with such ease. Why they manage to get others to do things for them. Why they always end up in positions of advantage while you're left struggling and being ignored. The brutal answer is that you are playing the game of human relations by the wrong rules. You believe that being good means ignoring people's weaknesses, that being ethical means not using psychological information to your advantage, that being correct means treating everyone as if they were equally strong and competent. But what if I told you that Niccolo Machiavelli identified 3 specific ways to use the weaknesses of others that are not only ethical, but that actually benefit both you and the weak person? That there is an abysmal difference between destructive exploitation and constructive influence through vulnerability? In just a few minutes, I will reveal to you the 3 exact strategies that Machiavelli developed to transform people's weaknesses into mutual advantage. These are methods tested in the most sophisticated courts of Europe, where understanding human psychology was literally a matter of life or death, and refined through centuries of application by people who understood that real power comes from making others feel strengthened by helping you. Pay attention. Once you learn these 3 ways, you will never again be naive about human nature, and you will never again be a victim of people who are already using these strategies against you without you even realizing it. But first, I need to destroy a dangerous belief you hold. You believe that noticing and using people's weaknesses is morally wrong, don't you? That good people should pretend they don't see the insecurities, fears, or emotional needs of others. That the correct way to interact is to treat everyone as if they were completely rational and self-sufficient. This is not just naive. It is cruelly ineffective for everyone involved. The uncomfortable truth is that every human being has specific psychological weaknesses, deep-seated fears, unmet emotional needs, insecurities that govern their behavior, and these vulnerabilities will exist whether you acknowledge them or not. The only real question is whether you will use this information to create mutual value, or if you will let other, less scrupulous people use it to exploit both you and these vulnerable individuals. Let me tell you about a moment that completely defined Machiavelli's approach to human vulnerability. Milan, 1499. Machiavelli was negotiating a crucial alliance between Florence and Ludovico Sforza, the Duke of Milan. Sforza was known for his intelligence, wealth, and military power. But Machiavelli had observed something that other diplomats had completely missed. The Duke had a pathological insecurity about his own legitimacy. Sforza had taken power from his nephew through questionable political maneuvers, and although no one dared to question his authority publicly, he was tormented by the perception that others saw him as a usurper instead of a legitimate leader. Most diplomats tried to impress Sforza with offers of wealth, soldiers, or territories. Machiavelli did something completely different. During the most critical negotiation, when Sforza was hesitating on the terms of the alliance, Machiavelli said something that changed everything. "Your Excellency, this alliance represents more than strategic convenience. It represents the formal recognition that Milan, under your visionary leadership, has become indispensable to the stability of Italy. Future historians will see this moment as the definitive validation that destiny placed Milan in the right hands at the right time." Sforza signed the alliance immediately, not because the terms were better than other offers, but because Machiavelli had offered exactly what his psychological weakness craved most: historical legitimacy. What happened there was not cruel manipulation. It was a profound recognition of Sforza's real human need and the offering of something genuinely valuable to fill that need. Florence gained a powerful ally. Sforza gained the validation he had been secretly seeking for years. This interaction perfectly illustrates the first Machiavellian way of using another's weakness. The first way is the strategic feeding of emotional need. Every human being has a central emotional need that secretly governs most of their decisions. When you identify this need and genuinely offer to satisfy it, you create an almost irrational loyalty in the person. This works because most people go through their entire lives with this need unmet. They make choices based on the unconscious hope that someone, someday, will finally give them what they really need. When you become that person, you become indispensable to them. The most common central emotional needs are the need to feel important, the need to feel competent, the need to feel unique, the need to feel secure, the need to feel appreciated, and the need to feel validated. The key is to never satisfy this need directly. That would seem obvious and manipulative. Instead, you create situations where satisfying their need naturally benefits you as well. Let me show you how to identify and feed each type of need. For people with a need to feel important, you offer opportunities for them to demonstrate status or influence, saying something like, "I need your help with something delicate." You are one of the few people with enough credibility to make this work. For people with a need to feel competent, you create situations where they can demonstrate expertise, perhaps by stating, "This problem is outside my area of knowledge, but I know you have the exact experience we need here." For people with a need to feel unique, you recognize their distinctive qualities, asking, "You have a perspective that no one else in this organization possesses. How would you approach this situation?" For people with a need to feel secure, you offer predictability and stability, explaining, "I know you value having a clear plan. Let me detail exactly how this will work and what role you would have." For people with a need to feel appreciated, you offer genuine public recognition, saying, "I want to make sure everyone knows that this idea came from you. Your work deserves full credit." For people with a need to feel validated, you confirm that their feelings and perspectives are legitimate, agreeing, "You are right to be concerned about this. This is exactly the kind of careful thinking we need." The crucial part is that you must offer genuine satisfaction of this need, not falsehood or superficial manipulation. You are creating real value for them while creating value for yourself. As a practical example, imagine your boss has a deep need to feel competent, but you notice he gets insecure when facing technical situations he doesn't master. The traditional, ineffective approach would be to try to impress him with your technical knowledge, which only increases his insecurity and creates resistance. The strategic feeding approach would be to say, "I need your guidance on how to present this technical information to the board. You have experience in translating technical complexity into strategic decisions that I haven't yet developed. In this way, you have acknowledged a real competence he possesses, created an opportunity for him to demonstrate it, and positioned your technical expertise as a resource that benefits his strategic competence." The second way is even more sophisticated. The second way is the creation of dependence through problem solving. Instead of just identifying what people need emotionally, you identify what practical problems they face and make yourself indispensable by consistently solving those problems. This works because it creates a powerful psychological cycle. The person begins to associate you with relief, success, and competence. Gradually, they start to depend on you for entire categories of challenges. Eventually, they can't imagine facing certain situations without your help. The key is to choose problems that are significant to them but relatively easy for you to solve. You want to create maximum impact with minimum effort. The most effective types of problems to solve include technical problems they don't understand, interpersonal problems they don't know how to navigate, organizational problems they don't have the patience to deal with, and communication problems they don't have the skill to resolve. For example, you notice that your colleague always gets stressed about presentations because she is technically competent but has public speaking anxiety. To create dependence, you offer to help with the structure of her presentations, offer to practice with her beforehand, or suggest ways to make the presentations more interactive and less intimidating. After a few times doing this, she will automatically think of you whenever she has an important presentation. You have become associated with success and anxiety reduction in her mind. But here's the crucial part. You don't solve the problem completely for her. You help her solve the problem in a way that makes her feel more competent but still in need of your input. This creates a healthy dependency instead of helplessness. The third way is the most powerful of all. The third way is positioning yourself as a protector against specific threats. Everyone has specific fears about things that could destroy their reputation, career, relationships, or security. When you position yourself as the person who can protect them from these threats, you create an almost primitive loyalty. This works because it taps into the most basic survival instincts. The person doesn't just like you or find you useful. They feel that they need you to stay safe. The most common fears you can offer protection against are the fear of appearing incompetent publicly, the fear of losing status or position, the fear of being socially rejected, the fear of failing in important responsibilities, the fear of being discovered in their inadequacies, and the fear of facing confrontation. The strategy is to identify which specific threat the person fears most, then position yourself as an early warning system and a shield against that threat. For example, you notice that your boss has a pathological fear of being caught unprepared in meetings with the board. For protective positioning, you offer informal briefings before important meetings. Share insights on what types of questions the board usually asks or offer to help anticipate points that might be questioned. Now you are not just useful to him. You are essential to his professional security. He will protect you because he needs you to protect himself. The most sophisticated part is that you never mention the fear directly. You simply offer protection in a way that seems natural and helpful, not as if you have identified a specific vulnerability. Now let me show you how to combine these three ways into an integrated strategy that will completely transform your interpersonal influence. The key is to never use just one approach in isolation. Sophisticated people will notice if you are trying to manipulate them with a single, obvious technique. But when you combine the feeding of emotional needs, the creation of dependence, and protective positioning, you create a dynamic so natural and mutually beneficial that the person doesn't even realize they are being influenced. Let me give you a complete example of how this works in practice. The situation: you want a promotion, but your boss is known for being political, insecure about his own competencies, and extremely cautious about taking risks that could reflect poorly on him. The analysis of his weaknesses reveals that his central emotional need is to feel competent and respected. His practical problem is that he doesn't have time to keep up with technical details, and his specific fear is appearing uninformed in meetings with superiors. The integrated strategy would be as follows. First, you feed his emotional need by offering opportunities to demonstrate strategic competence, saying, "I need your perspective on how to position this project for the board. You have experience presenting technical innovation in a way that resonates with business priorities that I am still developing." Second, you create dependence by solving his problem of staying up to date. You offer weekly summaries of relevant technical developments, analyses of how market changes affect current projects, and briefings before important meetings. Third, you position yourself as a protector against his fear of appearing uninformed. You anticipate questions the board might ask, prepare talking points for difficult situations, and offer to be available during critical meetings as technical backup. The result is that in a few months, your boss comes to see you as indispensable. He associates you with competence, stress relief, and professional security. When a promotion opportunity arises, he doesn't just recommend you. He insists that you be promoted because he needs you in a stronger position to continue having you as a resource. But here is where most people make fatal mistakes when trying to apply these strategies. The first mistake is trying to use these techniques with everyone at the same time. This is ineffective and obviously manipulative. Instead, you should choose 2 or 3 strategically important people and focus on building deep influence with them. The second mistake is being impatient. These strategies work through gradual psychological conditioning. Attempts to accelerate the process make you seem desperate and arouse suspicion. The third mistake is not being genuine in the help you offer. If you are just faking interest in people's needs, they will eventually notice, and you will lose all credibility. The fourth mistake is not calibrating based on the specific personality of the person. Some people respond more to emotional feeding, others to problem solving, others to protective positioning. You need to read each person individually. Let me teach you how to avoid these mistakes with a systematic approach. To choose the right people to focus on, ask, who has the power to significantly affect my career or important projects? Who has obvious weaknesses that I can genuinely address? Who has already demonstrated the capacity to be loyal when treated well? To maintain appropriate patience, establish a timeline of at least 3 months to see significant results. In the first few weeks, you are just observing and offering small bits of help. In the first few months, you are establishing patterns of value. Only after 3 months can you expect real loyalty. To ensure genuineness in your help, Only offer assistance in areas where you truly have competence or interest. If you can't genuinely help someone with their technical fears, don't try. Find an area where you can offer real value. To calibrate for individual personality, observe how they respond to different types of approaches. Some are uncomfortable with direct praise but respond well to opportunities to demonstrate expertise. Others love public recognition but get nervous with additional responsibility. Now let me show you how to quickly identify what kind of weakness each person has. People with a need to feel important always mention their achievements, are visibly pleased when recognized publicly, and get irritated when ignored or bypassed in decisions. People with a need to feel competent get defensive when questioned, always explain their decisions in detail, and look for opportunities to demonstrate knowledge. People with a need to feel unique always emphasize how they are different from others, resist standardized approaches, and are pleased when you acknowledge their distinctive perspectives. People with a need to feel secure always ask about risks, prefer detailed plans, get anxious with uncertainty, and always want approval before proceeding. People with a need to feel appreciated frequently mention how hard they are working, are disproportionately grateful for small acknowledgments, and clearly feel undervalued. People with a need to feel validated constantly seek confirmation that their concerns are legitimate, get upset when dismissed, and respond well when you agree with their feelings. Once you identify the type of need, here are the specific phrases you can use to feed them. For people who need to feel important, you can say, "I need your input on this because you are one of the few people with the authority to make this happen." Or, "Your involvement would be crucial to the success of this project." Or, "As someone with your influence, what do you think about this approach?" For people who need to feel competent, "You have exactly the expertise we need here." Or, "With your experience, you've probably seen situations like this before." Or, "Can I learn from how you would handle this?" For people who need to feel unique, you bring a perspective that nobody else has. Or, "Your approach is always so different and creative." Or, "As someone who thinks outside the box, how would you tackle this?" For people who need to feel secure, "Let me walk you through exactly how this will work." Or, "There are no significant risks here because we've already thought through all contingencies." Or, "You have every reason to feel confident about this." You're for people who need to feel appreciated. "The work you are doing here is incredibly valuable." Or, "I don't know how we would manage without your contributions." Or, "People definitely notice the quality of your work." For people who need to feel validated, "You are right to be concerned about this." Or, "Your feelings about this situation are completely understandable." Or, "That's exactly what someone careful would think." But here is the most important secret of all. The real power of these strategies does not come from using them to get things from people. It comes from using them to create genuine win-win relationships where everybody gets what they really need. When you genuinely feed someone's emotional need, you are not manipulating them. You are giving them something valuable that they can't get elsewhere. When you consistently solve their practical problems, you are not creating unhealthy dependence. You are becoming genuinely useful to them. When you protect them from their fears, you are not exploiting their vulnerabilities. You are providing real security. The result is that these people not only want to help you, they feel good about helping you. They associate you with positive feelings and experiences. They become genuinely loyal because the relationship benefits them significantly. That is the difference between influence and manipulation. Influence creates value for both parties. Manipulation creates value for only one party at the expense of the other. Let me give you one final example that shows how powerful these strategies are when applied ethically. The situation. You want to build a partnership with another department, but the department head is known for being territorial and suspicious of other departments, stealing his resources or credit. The traditional approach would be to pitch the benefits of collaboration, try to prove that you're not a threat, or appeal to company-wide interests. All of these are likely to fail because they don't address his real concerns. The Machiavellian approach is to recognize that his territoriality comes from a need to feel important and secure in his domain. Instead of asking for resources, you offer to provide resources that make his department look better. You position the collaboration as a way for him to demonstrate leadership and expand his influence rather than risk it. The specific strategy would be, "Our department has developed some tools that could significantly improve your team's efficiency. If you think it would be valuable, we could train your people and give you full credit for implementing the innovation. In fact, This could be an excellent opportunity to showcase your department's ability to drive improvement company-wide. The result is that he not only agrees to the collaboration, but he becomes its champion because he sees it as a way to enhance his status and security rather than threaten it. Now, here is a crucial warning that you must understand. Use these strategies only with people whom you genuinely respect and want to have good relationships with. Never use them to exploit, harm, or take advantage of people who trust you. The real power comes from becoming a person that others want to work with, support, and promote, because they know that the relationship benefits them, not from becoming a master manipulator who uses people and throws them away. When applied correctly, these 3 ways of using other people's weaknesses create lasting alliances, genuine loyalty, and mutual success. They transform you from someone who struggles to get cooperation into someone who naturally attracts support because you make other people's lives better. Your opportunity to practice these strategies is coming today. Maybe in the next meeting you attend. Maybe with your boss, a colleague, or a client. Maybe in a social situation that you encounter. When you encounter someone showing vulnerability, need, or fear, you will have a choice. You can ignore that information as you always have, missing opportunities to create meaningful connections. Or you can apply what Machiavelli taught about human nature and discover how satisfying it is to build power by genuinely helping others get what they need most. The choice is yours. But remember, while you're being nice and ignoring psychological realities, other people are using the exact strategies I just taught you to build the influence and success that could be yours. Master wisely, use ethically, benefit mutually. Transform your understanding of human nature into lasting power through service to others' real needs.